All right. To kick off our first session of the day, we have Jennifer Groman. She's our Associate Commissioner for the Office of Project Delivery. And I'll turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Tina. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited to kick off our second Kahua Focus Day. As the new Assistant Commissioner for Project Delivery, I know the importance of being able to reach information at our fingertips when needed. And today is a day for those of us at GSA or those of you working with GSA to give our undivided attention to learning and getting comfortable using this important tool. I understand that the first Kahua Day was held in October and it was a pretty big hit. I also understand we have some guests today for our opening session. So I want to welcome our external customers, both our customers and contractors who are also on this call. We're happy you are here and for your desire to learn more about collaborating on projects in Kahua. Kahua is GSA's new enterprise-wide project management and collaboration tool. It is designed to be used by all project team members throughout the project lifecycle. It serves as our official project tracking system and is crucial for project reporting, informed decision-making, and the overall success of our projects. A few benefits of using Kahua include the following: a single location for up-to-date project information available 24/7. It is also a space to collaborate with internal and external team members on project details such as RFIs, submittals, and design reviews. Lastly, it is a secure system compliant with all federal IT security standards for keeping project records and information safe. Over the past year, we've deployed Kahua to over 7,400 end users, including GSA employees, contractors, and our customers, and have established over 8,500 projects in Kahua. The majority of these projects are in federally owned space, with some larger above prospectus projects in leased space. This summer, we will be adding lease acquisitions below prospectus levels to Kahua. Kahua is the tool where work gets done. It is robust enough to manage the most complex projects we have and flexible enough to meet the needs of simpler, straightforward projects. It is new and will take us a little while to get used to it. We all will get there eventually, and efforts like today's Focus Day will help. With that said, and before I close out, I want to mention the annual account recertification process. It is launched today and will close on February 28th. For those with Kahua accounts, please pay attention to the messaging on this process and get your account recertified. It is simple but yet important process that gets sometimes overlooked. So today is your Kahua Focus Day. Try to maximize the benefit of the folks available to help you learn more about Kahua. Attend the sessions, spend the day reviewing training videos, and review the reference guides and work on updating your projects in Kahua. If you have questions about Kahua, attend your regional working sessions to get answers. Again, use this day to your advantage. Have a great day and let's Kahua. Thank you very much, and back to you, Tina.
Thanks, Jennifer. Jennifer makes a great point in making this your day. So use this day for whatever your needs are, whether it's learning Kahua or getting your projects updated. The main thing is that you're working in Kahua and that you're getting more comfortable in using it. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our walkthrough sessions. We have two of them. The first one is RFIs and submittals. Following this session, we'll take a short break and then we'll resume for the remaining hour with the walkthrough of the design review application process. So if you'd like to ask a question, please use the Q&A feature to post your question. In Zoom, you have the ability to upvote a question. So if you see a question that you'd like to ask or that you'd like to know the answer to, you can click that thumbs up button and that will cause that question to rise in our queue. Feel free to post questions at any time. We may stop throughout the presentation and ask questions during the demonstration, or we might respond with a written response, or we might just wait to the end and answer that question. So we will be posting the Q&As on our internal Google site, as well as on the Project Management Information System site on gsa.gov. All right, so now I'd like to introduce Patrick McCarthy. He is our Kahua Program Manager in Region 5, and he will be facilitating the RFI and submittal walkthrough. So Patrick, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Tina. Good morning, everyone. As Tina mentioned, my name is Patrick McCarthy. I'm the Region 5 Kahua Program Manager. Along with me, I have Loretta Main and Ashley White, who are the National System Administrators for Kahua. So together, we're going to walk through the process of the submittal packaging and how to workflow that. And we don't have a ton of time, so we're going to get through that. And if we can get through RFIs, we will. RFIs are a lot easier than the submittal process. So we wanted to at least start with that. So let me turn it over to Loretta.
Hello. I'm going to start off by just showing this RFI workflow that we've got here. And we'll just kind of, like Patrick said, we'll look at this quickly and then we'll look at the submittal one and then actually walk through the submittal workflow. So this is RFI. So this is kind of all of the roles represented. So you wouldn't necessarily have to use all of these roles. And so I'll kind of make a note of that here as we go along. But the author is going to be anybody who submits that. So that can really be anybody. The owner's rep, this is an optional role. So if you do have somebody that needs to see it before it's returned back to the author, you'll put that owner's rep in there. And then your primary responder is your other required person. So your author and your primary responder are really the two roles that are required for this workflow. The owner's rep it just can be placed in the middle if needed. And then there's also secondary responders. So what happens there is the primary responder is able to send the RFI on to secondary responders. Their response comes back to the primary responder, and then they can choose whether or not to include that response or whatever with their response. It comes back. Again, if you have that owner's rep, it's going to go to that person before they send it on back to the author. So this is fairly simple, but you do have to kind of think through who needs to see it and at what point. The author is going to, again, get it back, and they are the ones that will mark it complete, and then they can distribute it. So that's just kind of the quick overview of the RFI workflow. And so let's go on and look at the submittal one, and then we'll walk through that. This is kind of the overall one. That's what we'll look at there. You know, again, you wouldn't have to use all of these roles. There are 4 optional: submitting vendor, submittal coordinator, official reviewer, and consultant reviewers. And so what we're seeing on some of these, you know, like smaller projects probably, is that the submitting vendor, it works out well to make them also the submittal coordinator, because the submittal coordinator is the person that's going to get the official review. Once it's, you know, once the official reviewer clicks respond, it's going to come back to this person. And so if there's not somebody specific that needs to see that before it goes back to the vendor, then if you make that the same person, then it goes straight back to them. So that's just kind of a tip. You know, probably on some of these capital projects, you'll need that, probably a GSA person to review before it's sent back. But otherwise, just go on and make these first 2 the same. And so that's what we'll do as we run through this process today, just so we don't have quite as many roles back and forth. But let's just look at this here. The submitting vendor, and again, it can be the submittal coordinator. They're going to either assign it to the coordinator, or if it's the same person, they can go on and send it directly to the official reviewer. So that official reviewer, again, has the option in the submittals. It's called a consultant reviewers. They can send it on to other people to review. It kind of just hangs out in the official reviewers' tasks until the consultant reviewers respond, or the official reviewer is ready to move on without it, either way. So this is kind of the main person that we're waiting on. So once they respond, again, it's going to go back to the submittal coordinator. So again, when you're kind of thinking out, you know, who needs to be plugged into each of these roles, that's something to remember, is that the official reviewer is going to go back, send it back to the submittal coordinator. So who should that be? And then they're the ones that are going to mark it complete also. Then of course, you do have some options here that, they can return it, or, can be request corrections. We've got resubmit. So if the vendor did submit it to the submittal coordinator, they'll have that submit to reviewers button, so they can send it on there. So you can kind of see that it can keep going, but just the basic flow is that the submittal coordinator will submit it to the official reviewer. They've got the option of using consultant reviewers. They respond, it goes back to the submittal coordinator, and then that person will either send it back to the submitting vendor, or if they are the submitting vendor, they'll just mark it complete. So that's kind of the whole thing. So we're going to start off here, and I'm going to play the role of the submittal coordinator, the vendor as the submittal coordinator. So I'm going to upload some submittal items. I'm going to pull them into a package, and then I'm going to submit it to the reviewer, and that's going to be Patrick. He's going to play this role here. And before he responds, he's going to send it on to consultant reviewer. So Ashley White's going to play that role. And so she'll send her response back. Patrick will get it, and then he will respond. And so then it'll come back again to the submittal coordinator. So let's go on and jump into that. All right, and I've already plugged a couple submittal items in here so that we don't have to really walk through that whole process of how to add them, but we can look at this quickly. Notice here I put in all the information in this one, and then this one I left some of it out. That's because I'm going to pull it into a package, so when I plug these things into the package, it'll actually pull these items in for me. But if we open this one, just make a couple notes here on how I did this. So with submittals and the items, I would highly recommend using your CSI code for your number. If you leave it just, it's going to default for you 1, 2, 3, 4, but then you kind of lose that sorting ability. And then once we get into the packages, you're just going to see that number. You're not going to see, you won't actually see the CSI code in some of the views. So it's really easier to go on and use your number in here. I did the 0.1 and 0.2 just for the additional items for the same CSI code. So you can kind of come up with your format for that, but that's just a tip there. Your revision when you start out is going to be 0. And then my other tip is go on and put the type. So there is a type field down here where you can select product data. But if you put that in the subject, then that's going to be handy again when you're in the submittal packages. You can't always see that type. You're just going to see the subject. And so if you put the subject the same, hollow metal doors and frames, for all of the types that you've got for that same CSI code, then you won't have any way of knowing which one's which. So I highly recommend adding that there. Of course, you've got description and all that. And I left some of this information out in the other one because it will pull in. The discipline is a required field, and so it's not that big of a deal when you're here in the item itself, but we'll look at that in the packages, and it kind of have to dig for it a little bit to be able to plug that in there. And so then, filled all this out. Again, we've got Patrick in here as the official reviewer. We added a couple people in our response distribution. And then down here at the bottom is where you upload your actual document. So that's already all done. And then I will just point out in the top right-hand corner over here, I did mark this CUI. And so if you've got a document that's CUI, make sure that you get that marked as such. So let's switch over to packages. So I'm in submittal items. We'll go to packages. All right. And we're just going to create a new package. So we will do new. And once this pulls up here. Now this number, again, you might just want to use that same CSI code or spec code out of your spec book to match that up, or you could leave this, in sequential order either way here. And my notifications up. There we go. So this track items with package, that means that any changes that we make here, so if I add the submittal coordinator here, it will pull into my item. So like I said, I did leave some of that information out on one of those items over there. And so any changes that are made here now will just fill into any of those that are added here. So I'm going to be the submittal coordinator and the submitting vendor. Here's that same CSI code field that we saw in the item. You can add this in here. Notice they are kind of the high level CSI codes. And so if you want your, very specific CSI codes that are specific to your project or your spec book, you can have those uploaded, and you would just work with your KPM to do that. Here's our response distribution. So once that response comes in from the official reviewer, who does that need to go to? So you can add individuals here. You can add, if you have a distribution list set up for your project, you can plug those in here. So you can have multiple people in there. And then we also have this checkbox. This is kind of new. It says notify response distribution on submit to review. So if you check this box, then everybody in this list is going to just get a notification that it's been submitted, and once this button is clicked. So you may or may not want that to happen, and you have that option now with that little checkbox. Here's some notes. Our reviewers. So this is going to be Patrick.
And just real quick, for the reviewers, you can put multiple people here. So if it's around holiday time or spring break and people potentially will be going on leave, you can put multiple people, and not every one of those individuals has to review it. At least one has to. So if I'm out of the office and Wayne reviews it, I don't have to do anything. At least one of those individuals has to participate as the official reviewer.
Yeah, and just a note on that like you said, only one has to and only one can. So if somebody replies, then it removes the task from both. So just kind of a note on that too. And so our consultant reviewer, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to let Patrick make that decision on who he wants to send that to. I can check this box. No, I can make it sequential. So if he adds two or more consultant reviewers in there, it will just go to the first one until they review, and then it'll go to the second one. And so otherwise it's just going to go to all of them at the same time. So that's what that is. Here's our submittal dates. Most of those are going to fill in for us. These are kind of hard-coded in, or not hard-coded, but they're configured into your project. So if that's not correct, we can configure that. So now we're down here to the submittal items. So we're just creating our new package. And so for this, we would click insert existing, because we're not adding a whole new item, which you can actually add it just directly from there. But we'll click insert existing, and we're just going to select those two that we had. All right, click select. It's not going to let me because I haven't made this one CUI. So let's jump out of here and make that CUI. That's because the items were actually marked CUI. So and we'll do insert existing instead of insert, and select. And I wish I knew how to turn my notifications off quickly, but I had added that row. this is what I wanted to show you. If you are going to add directly from here, you'll use this flyout here. You can add your revision, your subject, but this discipline is also a required field, so you will have to open this up here to be able to get that in there. And then you can actually upload directly from there. But let's just look at these other two that are already in here. So these are the ones that we have added. All right. I'm going to remove that one. Okay, and notice we also we're in the package now. So we also have a reference section here. You want to make sure that you're getting your actual submittals uploaded to the items themselves and not the overall package. And so, you know, you would just do that like I showed you, either from the submittal item itself or from here. And so I've got this all ready. I can save this, or I can go on and send it. And like I said, I am the vendor, but I'm also I put myself in as the coordinator, so I don't need to assign it to the coordinator because that's me. I'm ready to go on and send it to the reviewers, and so I'm going to do that. So I'll click this submit to reviewers. And then I will hand this over to Patrick. Actually, I'll just show you quickly. I do have the option of recall, so when I do send that off, then I can recall it if I need to. So I'll stop sharing and let you take over.
All right. So now I am the official reviewer. So as you can see, if you're in Kahua, when you get a new task, you'll get the notification pop up here. But you'll also get an email. So you'll get an email and a task in your task box. When you're participating in an RFI review, submittal, anything that you're assigned a task to, you're not necessarily going into the project. You're going into your task list and you're completing all of the responsibilities through the task list. Okay, so you can see I'm in a completely different project than Loretta was, but I'm able to access the submittal package through my task list. Okay, let me pop that up. So here's the information that Loretta put in here. So as the official reviewer, what my role is now is adding consultant reviewers. Okay, so I'm going to add, and as Loretta mentioned, you can add multiple people. You can put them in sequential order. I'm just going to add I'll add Ashley as the official reviewer. You can put a response due date. It's not required, but you can if it's something needed. And then what my next role is just to submit it to the reviewers. Because once they review it, it comes back to me. I'll complete my final review and send it back to Loretta. While it's in the consultant reviewers with them, I can also start my review and then finish it once I see their notes. So you can access the information while it's in Ashley's task. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll submit to reviewers. Okay, so now my job is done for this part, and I'm going to stop sharing and send it over to Ashley.
All right, perfect, Patrick, thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect, all righty. So now, as Patrick mentioned, I'm also in a different project and I should have received a task. I'm gonna go ahead and select my tasks. All right, and I see that I do have a task from Patrick. I'm gonna go ahead and click on that. Minimize this a little bit here. Alrighty, and then I'm going to scroll down to where it says consultant reviewer, and I'm going to go ahead and select respond. Just a second here.
You'll have to plug in a response for each of the items.
All right, 1 second.
If you
So
could just
under
click on that,
submittal.
that fly out right there.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. I'm going to right, and I'm just going to add my response, and then instead of clicking down, I'm going to go ahead and actually use the up and down arrows to go to my next submittal item here, and I'm just going to add a note there, and then now I'm going to select done. Okay, so if I wanted to go ahead and add any notes here, I'll just put test 1. And now I have completed my review. So now I'm going to go ahead and select respond. And it's back off to the team.
Okay, so now Ashley completed her review as a consultant. I will receive a notification that it's back to me. So sometimes when it comes in, you'll get an email, but sometimes it'll be a message, not a task. So this time it showed up in messages because I already processed my task. So now it's coming back to me.
And actually, if you go back to your task, you'll see that it never left your,
Correct.
it was still in your course. So you could have responded at any time. So that's why you don't get another task.
All right. So I just want to show a couple quick things. So as it was mentioned already, whoops. So I can see here are the package notes from the consultants. Okay. So if you have multiple, it'll all be listed right here, but this is for at the package level. I also want to go down and look at the notes in the items. Okay, so I can scroll down and I can see Ashley's response over here. Once again, it'll all be listed here if there's multiple different reviewers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to provide my response for the different items. The one thing that I do want to just quickly show is if I go down to references and I'm looking at the document, I can click edit. Oh, sorry. I want to let me open all the way.
Go on and view it.
Okay. So I can't mark this one up. Interesting. I thought I was it. So in the past, and maybe it's just the type of document, under references, if I click on under references, if I click on the document, typically I will receive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'll typically receive a markup. Let me check the second one and see if that has it. Interesting. Okay. There should be a markup button here where I can click on the document and I can actually provide markups. Oh, this one it's listed as markup no. So when the documents are put in, make sure if you want to be able to provide markups, make sure it's listed as markup yes, to where I can click on markup, the document will pop up. I can put in notes, I can circle things, put boxes around it, and multiple different people can provide markups and change different colors so you know who exactly is providing what comment. And then at the bottom of that document, when it's open, it'll provide all of the different markups, who it was from, it'll have a timestamp, a date stamp, and any notes that are included with that. Okay, so so you can do markups, or you can just provide your comments here. Let me jump back to one, and I'll provide my comments. Okay. All right, so there's the comment, and then I also have to approve it as submitted, or if there's anything that needs correction, select the appropriate option. So you have to do this for both of the different items and then also with the package. Okay, so I'll go down to reviewer. All right. And then I will approve. And then I will go back into the package. And oh, here it is. So here's the package note. Okay. The one thing I will say with markups, if you provide markups and comments on the document, there isn't a notification to let the official reviewer or the coordinator know that there are markups. So in your notes, you'll want to say, I provided markups on the document, so they're aware of it. Okay. So then I can also, once I'm done with the review of the different items, I can submit the package back to the coordinator, which is Loretta. One thing that Loretta did mention when she was going through the diagram, every project is different. So for this example, Loretta was playing the vendor and the coordinator. Best practice is during your planning session with the contractors, go through roles and responsibilities of who it's going to be. I've seen some capital projects, the submittal coordinator will be a CMA, or that could be the PM or the COR. So every project is different. Make sure you have that conversation early and everyone understands what their role will be on the project. Okay. The other thing that Loretta mentioned, that either the coordinator or the official reviewer can add consultant reviewers. So if Loretta were to add Ashley, I can add more if I needed. So both of those individuals have the ability to add different users. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to respond. If I click submit to reviewers, it's going to go back to Ashley, just like the flow chart shows. So I'm going to click respond. And now you'll see it's off of my task list, and it's now off my task list, and it's going back to Loretta.
So I will get a message that he has responded. So click on that. So this is opening Kahua. So if I actually didn't have it open, I could click there, it would open it. But also just a reminder that as long as you've got it set up in your settings, I'll also be getting this email or this message in my email account too. So you'll know when you've got these coming in. And so I'm not going to have a task because I actually have access to the project and I'm dealing with it here. So log out, close this and come back. You can see my status is response received. Open that up. So we can come in here and see, so I can see Ashley's response now. I think that's new. And so some of the workflows may say that Can't see that, but we can. So we can see her response to that package. So let's scroll down here. Let's look at these individual items. We've got accepted as submitted, and he did both of those the same. So we can open this up and see if there's any other notes on those. So here's his response with his notes. Here's Ashley's notes. And I can see the document down there. So, you know, I could click through each of those and review all the notes if I needed to. But in this case, now I've got some other options. If he had rejected one of those, I could request corrections. And so that would go back to the vendor. So if you remember, I'm actually logged in as the vendor and the submittal coordinator. So that's not going to do anything here, but if I needed to have them submit something else, I can click that request corrections. I can return it to the official. So if I didn't feel like they gave me enough information, I can do that. But when I'm all done, then I can mark it complete. So I'm the submittal coordinator. So I'm the one that has this option now to mark it complete. And before I do that, I will just point out a couple things. We do have the revise option. So again, if one or more of the items was rejected, we could click revise and it will pull this up. So you would give it the new package revision. You can select which items you want to include in the new revision. So let's say we're good with that. We actually needed a little bit more information on that one. We can do that. Click save. And that way we don't have a whole new record every time we have a revision. It's just going to show us the revision, updated revision number in our log view. And then you'll always have access to your previous revisions. So you see this section right here. And here's our previous revision. Open that and see exactly what we've just seen.
Hey, Patrick, this is Tina. I'm going to jump in real quick. I wasn't sure where you guys are at with the demonstration. If we do have several questions, so I didn't know if you guys wanted to take some time to answer some of those questions or if you wanted to finish up a piece here.
I think we can take time for questions because I know we're running out of time anyway. So we can take a couple questions.
All right, I will hit the first question that we have. The question is, how can the routing be automatic to the primary responders, to the secondary responders, and back to the initial submitter without it being onerous on the GSA project manager and other team members?
So somebody on the GSA side typically needs to be the official reviewer, as long as there will be that step. So it has to go from the coordinator to the official reviewer down to the consultant reviewers, and then back to the official reviewer to provide any additional comments. The process that we showed today is the simplest way to do that. There isn't really more of a streamlined way because as GSA, we need to make sure all of the comments are accurate. Everyone responds to the comments. And then we ship it back off to the coordinator. So I feel like what we showed today was the easiest way to do it. I don't think there is a more automatic way to do it.
All right, thank you. Another question is, as a consultant reviewer, how do I complete the task so it does not show in my task list after leaving comments?
So it will, once you, as you saw with mine, with my task, it'll stay in your task list until it goes back to the submittal coordinator. So as a consultant reviewer, it'll show in your task list until the official reviewer submits it back to the submittal coordinator, because it potentially will need to come back to you if there were comments that needed to be updated. So you'll see it in your task list. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have anything to do. It'll just sit there until the official reviewer submits it to or responds to the coordinator.
All right, thank you. We have several, so I'm going to just kind of roll through them. Can the person acting as a submittal coordinator also act as a submitter?
Yes. So for this example, so Loretta was acting as the submitting vendor and the submittal coordinator. For small projects, that's typically the best way to do it. The capital size projects, you might have a little bit difference because in Region 5, I was helping with a project and we had the submitting vendor, and then they submitted to GSA's CMA, and then that went to the official reviewer who was our COR. So it varies project to project, but on small projects, the submitting vendor and the submittal coordinator typically will be one and the same.
All right, thank you. We have another question from Rajan. I'm the official reviewer and sometimes revised submittals are returned to me, but when I forward to my consultant reviewers, they are only able to see the original files, but not the revised submittal. This has only happened a couple times, but I'm able to see all files on my end. Any advice? Is that something we need to take offline?
Yeah, I think we'll have to test that out.
Okay, Rajan, we'll get back with you. Okay.
There is that little checkbox that says include previous. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with that. So we'll check that out.
Okay, we'll help you out. Thank you. Next question is specification and drawings are critical for submittal reviewer. How can they easily pull that up while reviewing a document?
So outside of or as part or the documents as part of the item. Oh no, okay. So if you have the specs and packages, the best way to do that will be to have to download the specs in outside, pull them out of Kahua to download, so you can either do split screen or multiple screens, so you can go back and forth, because you will need the submittal up on your screen while you're doing that, unless you want to go back and forth. So you can do split screen, but I would recommend downloading it because you can only have one document open in Kahua at a time.
Well, if you had it in your files or another app, you can actually open multiple apps too. And I can just show that. So let's see if you had file manager. So you can always, if you right click, you can do open in a new window. So then this is my file manager. So I could actually put that on a different screen. So that would be one way to do it.
All right, thanks, Loretta. All right, I know we're close on time here, so we do want to take a little bit of a break before we start the design review process. Patrick, do you have any additional things you want to cover? You know, parting words. We do have several questions. We'll get to those. We'll answer those, and we'll get them posted.
The only other thing, I know this was submittal and RFIs. It's hard to get through both of those in this short of time. RFIs is very similar to the submittal process, actually easier. It's a much more streamlined, easier process, as Laura showed the workflow earlier. So unfortunately, we apologize we didn't get to it today, but the submittal packages is a little bit more involved, so we want to make sure we covered that. Besides that, I think we're good. If anyone ever needs assistance, reach out to submit a ticket or reach out to your regional Kahua program manager, and they'll help guide you through any of the hurdles that you encounter.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Loretta, and thank you, Ashley, for the demonstration. The questions, we didn't get to all of them. We will get answers to those, and we'll post those out on the Project Management Information System site on the gsa.gov site. We'll put those under the training page on that site. And then also internally for Kahua Google site, we'll be posting those also on our training page as well. So, be looking for those Q&As, as well as the recording of this session will be out there for you guys. Also, just want to put a plug in for our training. We do have instructor-led training on RFIs as well as on submittals. So those are available through our training calendars, which are also on both of those sites on those 2 pages I just mentioned to you. So feel free to join us for another session. We'll have, those sessions are typically an hour long. So this is just kind of a taste of it, doing the walkthrough piece of it to kind of let you see actually as it's being done. Feel free to join us for one of those training sessions as well.